Look around you. Some people are deeply sensitive, kind, generous, empathic, and then there are others, mentally rigid, emotionally shut down, uncaring, even manipulative. It's easy to think we're all the same, but we're not. Here is a rule of thumb: people obsessed with their own cleverness or their value compared to others are usually further down the scale of soul experience than those who feel deeply. A healthy human being has both mental flexibility and emotional awareness. Both types can disconnect from their bodies, but in very different ways. The mental types escape the intensity of emotions early in life by retreating into the mind. Conflict and tension builds, their bodies become uncomfortable places to live. All that's left is the mind and stories of grandeur to justify their exile. The emotional types experience everything, their own emotions as well as the unconsciously projected emotions of those around them. They are emotionally buffeted without respite and will often find solace with undemanding animals, nature, the arts, or even in obsession with another person. Emotional types often have a weak sense of self and a lack of boundaries. Whilst they are very empathetic and caring, this extremely beautiful quality can also be their downfall.
Please, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything.
This makes them easy prey to the unscrupulous. Whereas mental types do not really have relationships with other humans, that would imply give and take. The mental type is so needy and lost that all it can do is take. It will take your love, your attention, your warmth, and leave you feeling that you have not given enough. Here's humanity's dilemma: souls incarnate to experience life fully, mind, body, and emotion. Fear is part of the journey. Useful, yes, but when it paralyzes thought, blocks action, or forces us to disassociate from our own body, it becomes a liability. An advanced soul, over a number of lifetimes, struggled to overcome the paralyzing and subjugating effects of fear. An advanced soul is one who, whilst experiencing the emotional intensity of fear, is sufficiently self aware of its effects to his or her organism. But there is something more. Beyond DNA genetic imperatives, beyond mind conditioning and the subsequent emotional turmoils, lies the heart. The heart is from where true meaning arises, not in clever thoughts, not in sensitive emotional sensations, but in that center where self worth, love, and acceptance lives. Real love, it doesn't come from clinging to another or measuring yourself by how much you're needed. Real love begins with yourself. when you can rest in your own company and say, I am enough. And here's humanity's struggle today. We carry the pain and suffering of youth, all wounds buried or ignored. If we face that pain instead of running, the heart softens, the storm of emotions settles, the rigidity of the mind loosens, and suddenly we can open to imagination, intuition, compassion. The empathetic must learn boundaries, self-worth, and protection of his or her heart. The mental type must face the fear of loneliness, surrender of his or her ego to the experience of the world from a perspective from beyond his or herself. I'd like to say that both, in their own way, are being called towards the heart. But this would be inaccurate, for the mental types lack sufficient soul experience, apart from rare exceptions, to achieve the transition in one lifetime. There is another type of human who are totally at the mercy of the genetic DNA. This type is not particularly intelligent, as they are moved purely by their physical drives with no thought of tomorrow. But we need not concern ourselves with them, even though there are far too many of them at present. And here's the important part. We're not defined solely by our minds, nor by the intensity of our emotions. We are defined by how we bring both into the service of the heart. Because in the end, it is in the heart where wholeness is found. The heart is where we own self-worth, where we are nourished by love, where we are nurtured with self-acceptance. It's where we stop measuring ourselves against others and finally come home to who we are. Real love doesn't mean losing ourselves in another. It doesn't mean wearing our hearts on our sleeve. It doesn't mean we're open to abuse. It doesn't mean that other people are more important than us. Real love begins at home. We matter. We are imperfect, undamaged. Such is the nature of life presently on this earth. Real love means we accept ourselves without criticism, with compassion and kindness. Real love begins by honoring our own value, embracing our own pain, and closing the door to those who are too damaged and would abuse us. And yet, in spite of that, being flexible enough to keep the heart's door open and undefended for those who can reciprocate. This is humanity's real challenge, to free ourselves of the
I
enslavement
thought I'd lost you forever.
and rigidity that we acquired as we grew up. We wanted to belong to the group, to be loved by others, and yet we shackled ourselves through our fears and suppressed our thoughts and emotions lest we be outcasts. What will you choose? To be a slave in the servitude of like-minded companions, or to be free and sovereign? In the end, the road to outer freedom must begin with inner freedom. Find your heart, soften your heart, trust your heart. We're not alone. It is a mutual quest. Most have yet to fully awaken, and as they do, we will collectively change this world for the better, but only by listening to our hearts.